Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, welcome to a day many of you have been asking for, and those who haven't been should have been asking, because trust me, you'll be happy now that it's here. Another build for you all today, as you may expect, and this time for a weapon done in such an exciting and unusual way it'll make you think of all other bowguns as simply inferior. Some of you may remember the video I did way back in the day of the original version of this build, the manual Freebird, back when it was just held up by 4 pieces of regular Velkhana armor and the small amount of skills that you could fit into that. The goal? A gun build that never had to use a single shot of bowgun ammo. No more preparing your item box, making sure you have all the berries and nuts and powders that you need. In fact, it basically became the melee ranged build, because your real objective, your only real objective, is to hug the monster so close that they can feel the imprint of your weapon's barrel upon their flesh and then unleash a powerful shot directly into them. And this time, it does more than 25% more damage than the original build, up to 1020 damage in a single shot against the cart in the training room, which doesn't even count agitator or coalescence or any of those fancy things. What we have in front of us is a different way to play heavy bowgun. And sure, it isn't quite as offensively strong as those spread shotgun builds, but nothing else in the game is as strong as those, except for Pierce on particularly long monsters. This, however, is simply a unique way of playing the game that is still capable of killing nearly any monster in under 10 minutes. I say nearly because Arch-Tempered Velkhana has an aura on some attacks that absolutely obliterates Rocksteady and Temporal Mantle, which are pillars of the build against hard monster, and because Fatalis, well, for some ungodly reason, Fatalis' head is super tough against ranged weapons like gray numbers after being tenderized tough, which sort of limits our damage to him and therefore our healing input to us as well. That said, it is entirely possible to kill both of these monsters with this build within the timer, just not 10 minutes. Its damage output is still really high. It's just, well, why would you want to subject yourself to that hell? No, I see this as far more of a specialist build. It is pretty bad against a few monsters in the game, ones with terrible ranged hit zones or who have too many full body area of effect attacks. Things like RageGaming or Nergigante can be really rough, especially given their unique hardening mechanics, but on the majority of the roster, this build is really effective. And on a number of monsters, well, you just sort of literally break their entire existence. This Kushala, when my mantles were up, spent about 8 seconds standing up, like the whole hunt. Like every other shot was a knockdown, and it's really easy to guarantee a head hit when you're aiming for the attack is the Clutch Claw itself, because if you haven't worked it out by this point, this build prides itself on using only the Clutch Claw tenderized attack for the heavy bowgun. Nothing else, nothing more. It gets no help, and I mean no help.
What you doing, boss? You need a hand? Oh, you're playing the silent game, I see. I'll just leave you to it, you prick.
It makes some of the more annoying monsters in the game just feel like a walk in the park, where your shoes are a grappling hook. So, you know, it's pretty darn fun. Seems simple, right? Well, for the most part, it is. So let's have a look at the weapon itself then, the Fatalis Heavy Bowgun.
I am in great pain. Please help me.
This weapon has insane raw attack, like the most on a heavy bowgun by a massive amount, and more interestingly, the most on a wyvern snipe heavy bowgun by an even more insane amount, as we haven't had a new wyvern snipe bowgun in a little while now, and that is a requirement to make this build function to its fullest potential. Then on the gun itself, we have 1 health regen augment and 1 attack augment, as well as 4 close range up custom bowgun mods and 1 shield mod. The close range up all affect our tenderized attack for a really sizable damage bump upwards, and the shield mod is just the only remaining mod with a legitimate chance to affect our gameplay. As you may imagine, the armor set itself is built around the idea of 4 pieces of Velkhana armor, as Frostcraft is extremely effective in this instance. And for the final piece, we are of course using Frostfang Barioth, as Clutch Claw attacks are a draw attack, and therefore benefit from the damage bonus of punishing draw. Unfortunately though, it is well understood in the community that ranged weapons unfortunately don't get the stun benefit of punishing draw, so I'm sad to say that this doesn't technically count as a ranged attack for that purpose. Boom! That's right, this build can stun. Okay, you won't do it often, though it can happen. It did happen to me, but it was in a hunt that I nerfed myself so hard that I removed all the close range up mods from the gun and just only clutched the head for the entire hunt. So an accurate statement for this build would be that it can stun with Punishing Draw, but the values are so incredibly low that you will rarely ever see it happen before you kill the monster in front of you anyways. But it can. Moving the decos into the set then, the list of skills in the build as a whole are 7 attack boost for a large chunk of attack up, as well as 5% affinity, 6 ice attack purely as a byproduct of the build. I know it's ugly for a raw build to have element attack, but it has to be there. It has to be there. 5 earplugs to give you more openings to Clutch Claw the face against any creature that you face. 5 agitator for a large chunk of attack, as well as 10% affinity when the monster is enraged. 3 health boost as there are monsters in Iceborne who will one-shot you otherwise. 3 recovery up as the health regen augment in this build does a ton of good work. 3 critical boost to increase the damage of our critical attacks. 3 critical draw for 100% affinity on draw attacks, which every one of our attacks is. 3 peak performance for a chunk of extra attack when you're at full health. 3 quick sheaths so you can sheath faster, allowing you to build up Frostcraft sooner and attack more often. 3 tool specialists to get our mantles back faster, as they are super important to this build. 3 coalescence for a load of attack up, as well as some other bonuses that won't affect us after we lose a negative blight. 1 critical eye for 5% affinity, as that puts us at exactly 100% affinity with all of our skills active. 1 resuscitate as a welcome byproduct of the build, and guard up because we had a spare 2 slot, and I think it's just a touch more potential to save your life than any of the stamina or evasion skills. Then of course we have Velkhana 4-set Frostcraft and Frostfang 1-set Punishing Draw, with Rocksteady and Temporal Mantle full of whatever jewels that you would like. So now you all see, now you understand the absolute beauty that is Clutch Claw Heavy Bowgun, and the glory that is the automatic Freebird build. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. The old one was called Manual Freebird, and this is just so much easier. As for how you would then play the weapon once it is in your hands, it's actually really easy in theory, but takes a bit more practice in practice. Your main goal is to find out what parts of a monster are weakest to ranged ammo, then to find out which parts of the monster are reasonably safe to grapple to, which ones are involved in the least attacks, and then cross that list, find the overlap. Some great examples are Nargacuga's face, Acidic Glavenus's back, Odogoron's tail. But for the purposes of showing you why this version of the build just sort of says fuck it to all of that, I did a tempered Kashala Deora, and you've all been seeing how that is going. Sure, his face is a really good weak point for ranged ammo, but he is definitely a monster that attacks with his face a lot. We're just so offensively strong that as long as we can survive a hit or two through our Rocksteady Mantle, the regen augment just pushes us through it all. And the flinch regularity means that we don't really have to deal with getting hit too many times in a row. On most monsters in the game, there is an ideal clutch location to work out, which will optimize your hunts with this build. But with this version of it, you can just clutch the head as long as your mantles are up against anything with a weak head. That's right, I said you have a weak head. What are you gonna do about it? Down to the literal moment-to-moment gameplay then. After finishing a Clutch Claw attack, make sure to sheath your weapon before your next claw so that your Frostcraft has the most time to recharge. That said, remember that you have a shield mod and guard up, as well as a super long range roll for Heavy Bowgun to take advantage of defensively while your weapon is drawn. Choose your sheath timing based on the situation around you. Flint shots are still excellent as always, and a really cool benefit of this build in multiplayer is that you can just be the main tenderizer for your teammates. Tenderize the face, tenderize the wing, tenderize the leg, tenderize the tail, then focus on whatever target is free and easy and available to you. Your teammates will thank you big time in the long run. And that just about covers it, everyone. I've been Cotton Dinosaur, and this has been the new and improved automatic Freebird Clutch Claw Heavy Bowgun build. Do you like this build as much as I do? What other neat builds would you like to see us make in the future? Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. This is the brand new outro to tell you all the things that you do that we love, so let's start with something simple and say, oh, we love your eyes. When they're watching us play video games, when we make a bunch of jokes that are kinda lame, or when they gaze upon our failures as we try to kill the monsters or important news about the kingdom Animalia. Rage, Cotton, and Hollow are all here, talking about the things you want to hear, so if you want to be the first to hear, like and subscribe and the bell and we'll cheer. Some of you are patrons even though we are all the noobs and you're the pros. There's nothing we can do to thank you. No, really, there's nothing we could possibly do. Goodbye.